I love it when a hunch of mine turns out to be correct. Yes, I, Sam Valentino, private Toon detective, heard the news involving Tubi picking up many more older Warner Brothers owned animated shows. A really big one is that in March they're adding the original Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, and Tiny Toon Adventures. I kinda figured they may show up on Tubi someday, since they used to stream Freakazoid, which is also coming back. And until last summer they streamed Scooby-Doo and Arabian Nights. But Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain and Tiny Toon Adventures are very expensive shows to air or stream, partly because of Steven Spielberg Amblin Entertainment co-owning them, and partly because Tiny Toon Adventures and Animaniacs each have 99 episodes, owing to their first seasons having the mandatory 65 episodes required for a syndicated weekday afternoon cartoon in the early to mid-90s. This is why they haven't aired on MeTV Toons yet, and why they also never aired on Boomerang, despite that being a Warner Brothers owned network. Also, Animaniacs and Tiny Toon Adventures were notoriously expensive shows to produce, as one could tell by the orchestral music score that emulates Carl Stallings' signature stop and start music stylings for the classic Looney Tunes. There's also several Cartoon Network originals from the 90s and 2000s coming to Tubi as well, including Cow and Chicken, Dexter's Laboratory, the original Powerpuff Girls, Ed, Edd n Eddy, Courage the Cowardly Dog, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy and Evil Con Carne, Codename Kids Next Door, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and the original Ben 10. I had a wild hunch those shows would eventually come to Tubi at some point, after HBO Max stripped all their non-Max exclusive Cartoon Network offerings over the past few years. Coupled with the success of several Warner-owned shows streaming for free on Tubi, most notably over 700 classic Looney Tunes shorts. Similarly, speaking of Warner Bros. Animation, they're also going to start streaming Tasmania, Baby Looney Tunes, Mucha Lucha, Static Shock, Xalolin Showdown, the original Teen Titans, the Sanders Schwartz Justice League shows, Duck Dodgers, the 2004 Batman series, Crypto the Superdog, Tom and Jerry Tales, Batman the Brave and the Bold, Cartoon Network's Mad, the Flash animated Tom and Jerry show, Wabbit, aka New Looney Tunes, Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated and Be Cool Scooby-Doo, the Wacky Racist reboot, and, surprisingly enough, Loonatics Unleashed, a show Warner Bros. Has been keeping under wraps for a long time and refuses to let Cartoon Network and Boomerang rerun here in North America, even though you can purchase it on Amazon Prime Video. They're also going to stream Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue, but that's been airing sporadically on MeTV Toons and Boomerang for a while now, after years of the latter similarly refusing to do so because of its poor reception. Surprisingly, I see they also plan to add the HBO Max exclusive Looney Tunes Cartoons Revival series. Wow, after being a premium exclusive to there. Of course, HBO Max is getting out of the kids and family business, as I've said, but Tubi is also going to be adding tons of other Hanna-Barbera shows, including Quick Draw McGraw, Top Cat, Magilla Gorilla, Johnny Quest, Adamant and Secret Squirrel, the Abbott and Costello cartoons, the original Wacky Races and its spin-offs, Dastardly and Muttley and Their Flying Machines, and the Perils of Penelope Pitstop, Help, It's the Hair Bear Bunch, the Pebbles and Bam Bam Show, the new Scooby-Doo movies, Super Friends, the 70s Addams Family series, Hong Kong Phooey, Great Grape Ape, the 1979 to 84 Scooby and Scrappy-Doo stuff, the Smurfs, the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, the Flintstone Kids, and even a pup named Scooby-Doo is finally coming back to Tubi. And even the Filmation Tom and Jerry comedy show, and the Beetlejuice series produced by Nelvana, and the Mask animated series produced by Film Roman. The latter both Warner currently syndicates to MeTV Toons. Wow, that is a lot of Warner-owned animated content coming to Tubi. It's making my head spin. Phew. I'm glad they're getting a chance alongside us there.
I still remember 20 years ago when I was really mad at Dexter's Lab for taking our time slots on Cartoon Network and Boomerang. But eventually I let bygones be bygones, and I remember sympathizing with Dexter after they removed the show from HBO Max some months after they began purging my classic shorts.
I'm glad you saw it that way, Daffy. Also, speaking of older Cartoon Network programming, at the very end of last year, Cartoon Network and Adult Swim quietly revived their Checkered Past retro block from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So far, they've alternated in showing Dexter's Laboratory and Ed, Edd n Eddy, and plan to soon show Courage the Cowardly Dog. It's still surreal seeing an Adult Swim logo bug on those shows. But like I said, in that time slot, Checkered Past can also appeal to people who grew up with those shows in the 90s and 2000s who may now have their own kids and want to reintroduce them to the Cartoon Network shows they grew up with. Same thing with MeTV's Saturday morning block along with MeTV Tunes, both generally aimed at older audiences, but there would likely be parents wanting to introduce those older cartoons to their children, along with grandparents introducing such cartoons to their grandchildren. It's cross-generational love and laughter that keeps us Toons young. Also, as part of the Checkered Past thing a few years back, Cow and Chicken got a high-definition remaster, appearing to be digitally scanned from the original negatives, as opposed to what was originally an analog telecine of the internegatives or something, since these shows are edited on computers and video. Anyway, so far it seems like to be the only such Cartoon Network original series to be restored that way, likely because it was the only one to my knowledge that started and ended back when Cartoon Network Studios was still a subsidiary of Hanna-Barbera, before branching off as a separate studio as Hanna-Barbera was being folded into Warner Brothers Animation when the 90s ended. A move that was even referenced in one of their in-between episode bumpers showing the old Hanna-Barbera lot being demolished, which thankfully didn't happen in real life, compared to Johnny Bravo and Dexter's Laboratory and the Powerpuff Girls switching to digital coloring at some point, largely doing so once Cartoon Network Studios was fully settled into their then new Burbank lot in 2000. Heck, Joseph Barbera himself even christened the Cartoon Network Studios building when it opened, with the old smash the champagne bottle bit, given the studio originally started out at his and William Hanna's old lot. But even with that, Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera stayed with Warner Brothers Animation until their deaths, which is why for the most part that studio would produce anything featuring legacy HB characters, like the Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movies and subsequent series, even the Tom and Jerry short The Mansion Cat, the final project Bill Hanna actually worked on before he died, and the Tom and Jerry direct-to-video movies and TV shows that subsequently followed. But anyways, with all this Warner Bros. Discovery-owned content already on and coming to Tubi, it almost feels like they're taking it over, despite Tubi being part of News Corporation, which still owns the Fox broadcasting networks. In a way, it's like Tubi's got a storm coming on March 1st, but nothing like the dark storm clouds of the Warner Bros. Discovery merger.
Thank you for not using the clip of me from Fiesta Fiasco again.
You're welcome, Daffy. This is a more positive kind of storm coming anyways. A storm of Warner Bros. Cartoon content to stream for free on Tubi, joining the likes of the classic Looney Tunes and MGM cartoon shorts, several other Hanna-Barbera shows like the Flintstones and the Yogi Bear show, Scooby-Doo Where Are You and the Scooby-Doo show, the 80s Richie Rich series, also the Sylvester Tweety Mysteries and What's New Scooby-Doo and the Looney Tunes show. Whew. This is going to be a huge library of animated Warner Bros. Content to stream for free. But it could just be a test the waters experiment for if Netflix deal moves forward and it could stream all those cartoons there, to which they'd end up on premium streaming, but still be all in one convenient location. Provided that deal still happens and Warner keeps saying no to Paramount Skydance. That proposed hostile takeover would then ruin everything, and I don't want to think about it right now.
Same. The whole bidding war, along with Hopi Coyote vs. Acme, gets promoted. Not to mention Pixar coming out with another snarky DreamWorks-like talking animal movie. They've got me all nervous.
There, Daffy. I understand how you feel. But like I said, this is an exciting development with a gigantic chunk of Warner Brothers' TV and short-form animation library going to stream for free on Tubi. Ad-supported, of course, which is why it's been working out so great for Warner and Tubi. Again, this is no doubt because of how very successful the classic Looney Tunes shorts have been doing on this fast-paced streaming channel for 6 months now. I'm betting Weijia Broadcasting and Warner Bros. Discovery have both scrapped the idea of a MeTV Toons fast-paced streaming service they initially planned, in favor of the latter licensing so many of the shows they air on that channel to Tubi, especially after the aforementioned Looney Tunes success. But that wraps up my findings in this case. Just keep watching this channel to hear of other animation news or any other brilliant deductions I come up with, along with the rest of my Toon friends here.
Rip